Hey guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. It's Manga Fairy. I know I do not have the camera this week and I deeply apologize for that. It's just a lot to do with like setting up the camera, recording, editing a video. It's just too much for me to handle right now, so the audio is the best I can do. And I'm not really doing a live reaction today. I'm going to be doing more of a discussion and predictions type video, so I didn't think it was necessary to have the camera for today. But with that being said, there will be a poll in the top right hand corner where you guys get to rate this chapter 5 stars down to 1 star, anything in between as usual. If you're new to my channel, hi, how are you? This is not my usual style of video, but the poll is there for you to express your opinions and kind of give your own input because my channel is heavily based on what you guys feel. It's meant to be a really good balance in between, so please do not forget to participate in that and then comment anything that you think down below in the comment section. So with that being said, let's just get into the video. I just wanted to start off by talking about like the chapter itself and kind of where it ended up. I did say a lot of the things I wanted to say on the Borehead podcast. That will be linked in the description below. It's pretty funny, and it's just something that you can listen to while you're doing something else. It's pretty fun. But other than that, like, I don't know. A lot of people, not just myself, were kind of feeling like this fight was dragged out, and I think that that's not the proper term to be using in this situation, because I don't think it was dragged out per se, because a good fight is well worth a good amount of chapters. But for some reason this fight seemed so I don't want to trigger anybody. It seemed lackluster to me because, you know, we have this Demon King Meliodas versus Bon essentially, and it's not to say that Bon isn't powerful enough to take Demon King Meliodas on. I think it's more the fact that it turned into like a bloody fist fight rather than like this big thing of magic and demonic power. And you know, I expect the fist fighting from Bon. I didn't expect that from one of the most powerful beings in this, you know, in this plane of existence, you know what I mean? The Demon King should have been something that was much more profound, and when you saw him you should have felt a lot more danger than kind of what we got, because when he went into Meliodas' body, I don't know if this is just me, but there was a lot of panels where he just seemed kind of childish and like, I don't know, like I'll put some pictures up on the screen now for you guys to see. It just seems off to me. But other than that, like, the fight was cool. Like, there was a lot of blood, and seeing the parallels between the Demon King Meliodas in the real world versus Purgatory, or that sense of mind inside of Meliodas, was interesting. But I don't know, it just felt rushed. It felt rushed to the point where it felt like it was dragging, and I know that's super confusing, but when you try to rush something like this, it's just kind of, and not giving it your all, it just feels weird and off, and that's my opinion on it. I know a lot of people love it right now, and that's totally fine. I totally get it. There's a lot to love going on right now, but there's also a lot to criticize, and you know, you can really love something and criticize it, and that's something that I want you guys to know too. Like, you don't always have to be like, oh, this is my favorite, and then constantly go along with everything. Like, it's good to point out the bad that's going on within something that you love. And like, is anybody else a little, I don't want to say disappointed, because the fight with Bon especially should have been something that was like this mega thing, and I did want to see Bon versus Demon King Meliodas. But is anybody else feeling like it was kind of weird? Like, Bon's power level for being immortal and stuff like that, it's insane to the point where it's almost kind of funny. I don't know. That's just my opinion on it. Like, Bon, I feel like should have suffered a lot more wounds than he did. And I feel like if he did, it would have given the fight a lot more of like a sense of urgency and disparity, something that we would have been like on this edge of our seats about, rather than something where we're like, oh yeah, Bon's pulling through just fine. Well, this is interesting. Like, it's a one-sided fight, really, because not only is Bon fighting him one-on-one, the rest of the Sins are there and obviously can support him, and that's something that we saw in this chapter. And, you know, it was a really cool triple prison combo move, but at the same time, it's like, this is so one-sided. It really wasn't even that big of a problem for them to fight this Demon King, so it's like, they had a harder time fighting Mael, if you ask me, than fighting the Demon King. And, the only really cool thing that stood out to me in this chapter was Hawk, and his attack Meet Darkness. It was something that wasn't expected, and it really was a surprise for me. And I know that's super dumb and childish to maybe say, but that was something I didn't expect, and I appreciate that the author put that in there. We were actually talking on the Boar Hat podcast. We think that his memories might have returned from him being in purgatory, and that's why he was able to use this kind of attack, because he's never really had any form of attack or anything like that. He's always been just a kind of immune to demonic attacks, but it seems like he channeled everything he had into him. So I don't know. Let me know what you guys think, really, about how this chapter went. And I think one thing I forgot to mention on the Boar Hat podcast is, I don't know how I felt about the last blow to the Demon King being a simple punch from Bon. Like, on one hand, it's really cool, and it really goes to show how powerful Bon is, and how he doesn't need to use magic or even his sacred treasure to finish this. But at the same time, it's like, how and why was the Demon King so powerless in this body? And just, it's hard to explain. It's just, that's my opinions on it. I'm gonna be rambling, but I think just for me, it just doesn't really make too much sense. And now Meliodas is back in his normal body. He's back to being his normal character, and part of me was happy, part of me was mad, because I wanted to see this growth with Meliodas, and unfortunately it went straight back to just being child Meliodas, and that doesn't really make much sense, because I thought that his curse would have been broken, so if the Demon King left his body, he should have still stayed in his adult form, not reverted back to his child form. But, you know, like, that's really nitpicky, and we don't really know the full explanation as to what happened. So going on to predictions, we think as a whole that this isn't over. The Demon King was defeated in the real world, but I think that he's still back in purgatory, and we still haven't seen the Supreme Deity either, so there's still a lot to go. We know that it's ending, but at the same time, they might be able to fit a whole new arc into this story. For me, it would have to be very well structured in order to not feel so dragged, or like, a good example for my viewers is like the ending of Fairy Tail. For some reason, that final arc just kind of was feeling off, and then the ending was so rushed and weirdly put together that we all kind of were left with that sense of like, but wait, like, that can't be it. And I would really hate to see that with the Seven Deadly Sins, because the Seven Deadly Sins in itself challenges most manga that I do read. Like, it's very well structured, very well thought out, but for some reason lately it's been getting a little bit of like Fairy Tail, Naruto kind of like older vibes. And that's not to say it's bad, because those are very good in their own like right. I'm not trying to bash on anybody else, but at the same time, the Seven Deadly Sins got popular lately because it was so good, and now it feels like it's kind of losing that in itself. I'm not sure, but prediction wise, I don't think it's over. The people on the Boar Hat don't think it's over. We think we're going to see something with the Supreme Deity. They were also saying something about Bron's sacred treasure. We haven't necessarily found it yet. I don't know if we need to, because I think that's something that made Bon stand out from the rest. Like, the fact that he didn't have his sacred treasure and he was still able to defeat the Demon King is something that's like really impressive, and I feel like we need to kind of realize that and appreciate that. But at the same time, I would really like to know what his sacred treasure was, and it's interesting that it hasn't come up this whole time in 300 chapters, so I wouldn't be surprised if something were to come up with that, but at the same time, I think that's kind of a dead end for me. But other than that, like, let me know any predictions that you guys have. I know that this video was kind of a lot, and it was kind of on the negative side of things, but at the same time, like, I put the Seven Deadly Sins up on this pedestal, and lately it's been letting me down a little bit, and I really wanted to express that to you guys. And no, I'm not saying that the Seven Deadly Sins is bad by any means, and I really hope nobody gets upset with me about this. It's just, I care about it, and I really love it so much that I kind of need to criticize it sometimes when it's not being the best that it can be. And I know the author might just be getting tired and kind of fed up, and that's completely understandable. That happens a lot with manga as well. Like, it's just, they get burnt out, and that's so understandable, but I really hope he can pull it together just for a little bit longer to really wrap up the story and make it as good as he possibly can be. So, anyways, with that being said, again, I'm sorry for rambling. I hope you guys enjoyed this, and please be safe in anything you do. I know this is a 3-day weekend, and a lot of people get crazy, but I hope you have a nice time, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!